Full moon in Sagittarius. Well, let's get into it. So this full moon is not your typical love and light type of vibe. We are here to dive into the truth of who you are. I'm not just talking about astrology either. This is about feeling it, living it, and embodying it. It is not about trends. It is not about your next spiritual hashtag. This is about your truth. And the truth that's not filtered through everybody else's lens. Sagittarius is a sign that craves freedom, truth, and expansion. And it is a sign as the truth seeker that wants nothing more to follow in what feels resonant to them. But here's the catch. You can't just blindly follow what someone tells you, not even me. If you are not experiencing it yourself, discerning yourself, what's the point? With Pluto leaving Sagittarius at the end of December, entering into Capricorn, we have witnessed within our collective a dismantling of religion, spirituality, what faith really looks like and what faith really feels like as we are rebuilding our own blueprint. At the same time, we have a bunch of newly created, self-made healers, teachers, preachers, practitioners, spiritual gurus, astrologers, insta healers, whether it's on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Threads, Substack, it doesn't matter. There's a bunch of platforms out there that allow you to have a voice, and that's amazing. And that's important as we are navigating into these next layers of self. And also, the line between genuine guidance and noise has been blurred. People are often hopping on trends because it's what's good now. And what I feel as though I'm witnessing is how spirituality today has turned into pop culture, mainstream, modern day, pick-me spirituality and religion. It's like another form of religion. I'm someone who doesn't give a shit about trends at all. And everything that I do goes against the grain of the algorithms. So I'm quite literally always questioning whether I even show up on any of these platforms to share my information, knowing that it might not get viewed. I spend hours editing because I talk a lot. I don't like to say that I talk a lot. I have a lot to say. Therefore, I spend a lot of time editing down the information so that you can walk away feeling nurtured and fed, for you to have information that can be utilized as you navigate forward. At the same time, the information that I share is for you to feel into whether the information feels resonant. As an astrologer, it is my duty to show up here with as much truth that is moving through my own physical system, my own body, versus showing up to just share trendy information to stay relevant. With full moons and new moons every 2 weeks, I'm not showing up simply because I want to be heard. I'm showing up because we're not all in alignment. Selfishly, I want everyone to be in alignment so we can all live the best life. It is a problem if you are not feeling into the energy before you choose to share it. When you are having the urge to hop on and share information because you heard somebody else say it and you have not integrated it into your system, you are creating more of the illusion, the distortion, and the darkness that some of y'all avoid so deeply. The love and lighters. Because if it's not love and light, I don't know about my shadows. I don't really want to look at those today. Completely bypassing how spirituality actually is. We're living in a time where modern day spirituality has been hijacked by some of your favorite people You know, and I'm not even sitting here to say that those people are wrong or bad. What I am suggesting is that sometimes these people that you are following so deeply, even potentially yourself, where your ego is getting in the way of the information that first needs to integrate. We are becoming disempowered in the need to be seen as a guru, a spiritual practitioner, a healer, a teacher, a preacher, a philosopher, a prophet. And I feel as though a lot of people are showing up as a prophet because it feels trendy. And then there's people like myself who are actually here to help the collective in a way that I don't even fully understand all the time, in a way that I question whether I should even share these messages all the time, because the judgment that I have in here and here and here is how I don't want to be seen like these other healers and gurus and practitioners, because the information that I often see them sharing doesn't actually feel good in my body. And I don't want to be leading people into false light or be seen as a false light astrologer, healer, guru, practitioner. And I have this battle every day. I've literally been having this battle every day, because what I'm seeing in the collective, specifically the spiritual collective, is a lot of false spirituality, things that sound trendy, and an avoidance and bypassing of the darkness that is required in order for you to be love and light. You know, what happens within the religious systems is we vilify blackness. We vilify the dark. We vilify the shadows. We vilify the ego. We vilify the elements of ourselves that don't feel juicy to other people, to even ourselves. We don't make space for the polarity that exists in this realm. And it's unfortunate. When we are bypassing the very thing that is required for our expansion, for our ascension, for us to actually step into what is love and light, that is embodied from a place of actually going into the darkness, for example, through Scorpio, for example, through Ophiuchus, to weave through the murky waters that feel uncomfortable, the swampy waters that feel uncomfortable, the places where potentially snakes exist. It's so important for us, mind you, I'm not making snakes bad. What I'm saying is there's a lot of slithery energy through spiritual communities that gets you wrapped up into embodying what they need and what they require for themselves to be nurtured as they lead you out of your truth, because their ego is wrapped up. It's like the snake, I don't know what it's called, but the snake that's essentially eating itself. You could get wrapped up in someone else's cycle when they are just, again, eating their own tail, because in a way they need to manipulate you out of you remembering your truth so that they can be fed and they could be nurtured and they could pay their rent. And modern day spirituality has been turned into, it's almost like a popularity contest that I'm refusing to play in, and yet me not showing up to share these messages, I'm part of the problem. Because if you see it, remember those signs or those messages we heard back in the day, and especially in like New York City or any train system, if you see something, say something. And I know for myself and my friends We've been seeing a lot of people quite literally regurgitate information, regurgitate prayers, regurgitate wisdom that has not integrated into their system. And unconsciously, unknowingly, doing that is leading more people into the darkness that you refuse to look at your fucking self. Excuse my mouth, but that's how I feel in this now moment. I need to remember to breathe. I'm also seeing a lot of specifically masculine energy holding space for women, putting themselves on a pedestal, again, needing other people to weave in their own web to support their own ego as they're eating their own tail in order to stay relevant, not able to allow divine feminine energy to enter into this space. They much rather people who are seeking them out of a need and a lack and a desire for masculine energy that's not rooted in truth. Tapping into other people's energy. Matter of fact, I saw another female do that the other day. Reading somebody else's energy that was not even in the room. Ugh, jeez. Moving energy. Ugh. That is not leading in integrity. That's not spiritual hygiene at all. And there's a lot of people that will continue to lead themselves in this way because if you're in survival, you'll do whatever is necessary in order to make sure that you are set. And that's what some of these spiritual communities are reflecting. An energy that is more pick-me than cultivating a shared space for collective healing and growth. There are people out there who are supposed to be helping others find more of who they actually are. You know, I remember writing years ago that we aren't needing to find ourselves because we're always here. And maybe one day I'll share that post. But the point is, everyone is seeking something. That is why some of us show up on here, because we're seeking the truth. But the truth literally has to be felt. It has to be integrated. It has to be lived. It has to be embodied. If you've been following a Bible your entire life, mind you, I've traveled to 18 countries and religion exists everywhere. And some of the religions that exist everywhere is the same thing. And I find that to be distortion. Because what did they have to do in order for everyone to be following the same thing? Which brings me to speaking about Gemini. The stories that we have been told and sold our entire lives, we have to question whether that is a narrative we want to continue following. Gemini is all about the mind. It is about communication and information. With it being ruled by Mercury, it is the information that we are receiving and the information that we get to share with others. Gemini and Mercury is the one who is connecting the dots to the information that is being received. It is the one who's also going to question, where did you get your data? Show me the facts. You know, some of those people out there. Here's the thing about the data though. Not all data that you are finding on Google is truth. I'm someone who doesn't necessarily have data because my gifts are through my knowing, my inner knowing. I can't tell you how I know this. I've been through some shit. That's how I know. It came to me out of, thin air. That's how I know. And don't get me wrong, I've definitely taken a shit ton of courses and classes, and yet still, even when I'm receiving of information, I'm discerning whether that feels resonant to me. And what doesn't feel resonant, nope, I don't consent to that. The thing about history is that the information is being filtered by the very people who want to keep you stuck. It is filtered by the very people who want to tell you how they want life to be experienced, aka the Bible. When people are constantly saying, history always repeats itself, history always repeats itself, history always repeats itself. The fuck? History doesn't have to actually repeat itself. But unfortunately, we are following fixed seasons and fixed systems that are actually repeating and looping information that is not even rooted in truth, not actually rooted in what is in the visible sky. Sharing and projecting sometimes fear. I heard one woman say, you should be scared. Those words will never come out of my mouth when I'm sharing and talking about astrology, when I'm talking about anything. Because honestly, astrology is just a tool to make sense of the information that is, again, already coming to me. I'm using astrology to share how it can be reflected for you to understand what it is that I am saying, but it is not my end-all be-all to why I show up. When we have a bunch of people, like our teachers, our preachers, our pastors, our gurus, spiritual practitioners, insta-healers, when they are all regurgitating information that's based on an incomplete data stream, enough people speaking about that specific energy is what creates the timeline. It is not because it's choosing to repeat itself. It is you have put enough information into the universe for it then to be reflected. Sometimes we could be caught up in what we don't want to happen, and we are absolutely creating that thing we don't desire. It's a tricky energy, trickster energy. As a healer, a teacher, a preacher, a pastor, a parent, a guru, an astrologer, it is your responsibility to not imply fear. It is your responsibility to speak your truth, but not based on systems and structures that have been fixated, emphasis on fixed. History isn't some unchangeable force. It is built from a collective energy and emotion. History doesn't have to repeat itself unless we let it. It's a choice. And with Gemini, we have an opportunity to rewrite the narrative, to rewrite the stories, to pay attention to what people are actually saying and discern whether that information feels good in your body. And with this full moon in Sagittarius is literally here opening up the book for you to write your own chapter, rooted in your own truth. I may go out and ask somebody, oh, are you into astrology? And some people look at me like I'm about to throw the devil on their back because they may be very religious. What's interesting about religion is that its roots are actually in astrology. And a lot of people think that astrology is a religion. And a lot of people look at astrology like it is so surface level or mainstream that there's not depth within it. And the thing about astrology, again, just to get it in your head, astrology is not a religion. It is a language. It is a tool. It is scientific. It's an art. It is meant to be felt. It is an experience. And you literally get to weave through what resonates with you, having some of the ground rules or an understanding of energy that then gets weaved through based on your own experience. And this communication tool sometimes gets disregarded simply because it feels so mainstream. It's popular. And astrology is simply not even simple. It's not simple. It's energetics and patterns that are reflected within the zodiacs and the planets that we can sometimes look at as though they are deities. and vilify something that is misunderstood on purpose, because astrology in itself was blended, in my personal opinion. Today I was speaking with a friend about the degrees within tropical astrology and how that relates to the degrees in true sidereal astrology. And I was explaining to her that it doesn't actually make any sense, because some zodiac signs or some constellations, for example, are larger than some of the others. And I actually believe that through tropical astrology, the same way that the Bible has been created in a way to give you enough information but also take out some of the information, meaning that's why we talk about tropical astrology being an incomplete data stream. What I actually believe is that they have taken some of the zodiac signs both before and after and kind of blended it into one zodiac sign, now creating those different degrees so that there is some differentiation between what this zodiac sign actually embodies and what this zodiac sign actually embodies, and what the true zodiac sign actually embodies, somewhere in the middle or maybe at the end of those degrees. And I feel as though that is why it can be very confusing, because when I'm hearing somebody communicate about a specific zodiac sign, what I'm hearing is the true sidereal zodiac sign of what they are reflecting. But because mainstream has been boxed in this very specific package, meaning 12 zodiac signs, all even 30 degrees, we're missing some of the information that's actually chopped up and a little bit different than the breadth of what gets exuded. Like the Scorpios really love talking about being a Scorpio when they're really a Virgo, or they're a Libra, and they want to stand 10 toes down on how they're a Scorpio. And it's just not true. Not in the way that we're seeing it. And when I say that it's just not true, it doesn't mean that it's not a part of you. What I mean is that the information is just being reflected in a different way, because we're all of the zodiac signs, and also we are none of the zodiac signs. But my point with this long rant is that religion acts as though it is truth, and yet it's someone else's experience. Spirituality is about you and your breath. That's what spirit is. It is through your experience that you get to build your own blueprint, where you get to create your own blueprint, where you get to live and exist and embody your own blueprint. Your blueprint being your astronomical birth chart, based on where the planets were at the time of your birth. And so to bring it back, sometimes we need to question the stories that we've been told, because there are people and powers that are collapsing, mind my words, that have created history books that are always going to tell you what they want you to know. And that's the information that you must discern. That's the information that you have to question whether this is real or not. And that's what we get to do with Gemini. That's what we get to do with Sagittarius. Sometimes we are practicing belief systems that's not our own. We are practicing habits of people who have lived before us. And if we continue to practice someone else's beliefs, that's how history can repeat itself. Because you are an embodiment of all your ancestors that are existing within your DNA. And you don't have to do things the same way that they did it in the past. And I've heard from other people, and I've had conversations with people where they're like, your ideas are not new. Your ideas are not new. And eventually people quit. And I swear to goodness, I refuse to allow that to be the narrative that I exist in this lifetime. I choose to believe and trust, not even believe. I trust and I know that this time is different. And all the other times after my existence gets to be different. Because if I wanted to be a popular astrologer, I would just tell you and talk about tropical Capricorn full moon. And I can, mind you. The overlay with this, through how I'm sharing it, is paying attention to the systems and the blueprints that we have been programmed to follow. Believing in governmental systems are taking care of us and collapsing that on its head. And remembering that we are source. All of the information is here. We could go online to look up all these resources, and you could go to all your favorite people or slide into my DMs and ask me for my resources. But if you are not integrating the information and remembering that everything is within you, the information that I share with you doesn't make any sense. It doesn't land when you are seeking for the purpose of just being seen or popular or known. It's so much deeper than that. And you have to be the game changer. Pluto is in Capricorn right now. This is dismantling what those systems and structures are. And I even find a lot of patterns with people who have tropical Capricorn to Sagittarius placements. What I see with tropical Capricorn placements is experienced harm with religion, spirituality, with knowing who God is, because they've been told who God is, with a pastor or a preacher serving as the middleman between themselves and themselves as God, instead creating a deity, or like, as some people like to say, sky daddy, as though God is outside of who you actually are. And that creates a lot of disassociation, disconnection from the truth of who you actually are. And when I see this, some of these people may become atheists. They may completely deny that there is a God. Because again, with religion, they make God and the devil two separate things, and it is all. And they make one bad and one good. And when shit happens, that means it's bad. And that's the same polarity that gets denied and bypassed within spirituality. That darkness is bad. Darkness is the devil. It's almost like they're just changing the language. And if you have a opposing opinion to their beliefs, it's like you're not welcome. It's like you're shunned, right? Like some other religions, again, they'll shun you if you question God. How does that make sense? I'm not allowed to question the rhetoric that is in a book that has been written how many ages ago? Same thing with astrology. It's been over 2,000 years that the sun has aligned with Aries during the eclipse. History actually gets to change. It's up to us to change it. If you are not feeling into your own energy and discerning your own truth and knowing what that actually looks like for you, not just a belief, but a knowing, standing 10 toes down. Y'all see me show up on this platform, standing 10 toes down on you're looking at the wrong birth chart if you desire expansion, period. I sometimes feel like I'm a broken record trying to share the same message over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, because so many people are still following tropical astrology. And I'm not saying that that is wrong or bad. What I'm saying is, if you are constantly looking for more, something is off, period. And whether you choose to come to me or to somebody else, I don't really give a damn. I just want you to go and look at something else, so that you're not confused by your own existence, by your own knowing, by your own truth. That's the point. If one person is out of alignment, we're all out of alignment. I'm out of alignment because you're out of alignment. And the rhetoric that we are all one, it's true, but sometimes even in these spiritual communities, they are sharing that we are all one in a bypassing fucking way. We are all one. No, the fuck we're not. If you're not even looking at your darkness, if you're not even looking at your shadow. I'm not a love and light type of person. I have love and I have light. I experience love and I experience light, but I am also my shadow. I am also my ego. This pick me, new age, spirituality, religion, we have to close the chapter on this specific book if we desire to really expand as a collective. And I don't have all the answers. I really fucking don't. Again, I question every day, what am I doing here? Why am I sharing this? Why is this information coming to me? Is anybody else feeling this? Is anybody else seeing this? It's almost like so many people's integrity has completely left out of the door because they're actually in survival. And while they're teaching you all the steps and practices in order to have $10,000 months, they've got you wrapped up in their fucking snake oil. So how is that helping? It's not. What I've personally experienced in the last several years of my life, as I've been waking up to my own path and purpose, I've been in a lot of my shadow, in my anger, in my frustration, as well as the passion that I have behind the words that I speak. What I've experienced is that I can be in my shadow and still be that of light and still share light. The amount of people that I've already helped and served, it blows my mind every day, to be honest. Because sometimes I don't even know the things that I'm saying out of my mouth that may help someone else. And when they reflect back to me how they've quantum jumped, or that they received the thing that they desired, or they're stepping into their light, or they're using their voice, or they're doing that thing that they were scared to do because they sat in session with me, or they came to one of my lives, or they watched one of my videos. It does make me emotional. It makes me emotional because it's like, fuck. Sometimes I'm barely getting myself out of the bed, if I'm sleeping on a bed. Being ahead of my perceived time, not following trends, not following mainstream anything. Swimming against the current is not easy. It's not for the weak. Healing is not for the weak. A lot of people make spirituality and healing so fluffy and sunshine and rainbows, and they walk around like they're floating because they're way up in the sky, and yet they're not grounded in their body. They're constantly seeking to escape instead of actually experiencing what we are navigating through now. This is the movement. This is spirituality. It is both and. So while this full moon in Sagittarius is here for us to experience, my invitation to you is to really question, what have you been practicing through beliefs that you've been told as the path to your ascension? This full moon in Sagittarius is really here to invite you to be your own guide, to be your own healer, to be your own philosopher, to be your own pastor, to be your own preacher, to be your own astrologer. If any of the information that I've shared does not resonate with you, throw it in the trash. But if the information does resonate with you, sit with this. Ask yourself how you're showing up. Ask yourself, is this truth? Or is this a habit? And feel what I am saying. We all have a role to play, but your role is not repeated. history. Yes, you are every ancestor that exists within you. But not all your ancestors need to be expressed, because some people's ancestors, they did some dirty things. Maybe my ancestors did some dirty things. I don't need to express that in this lifetime. Your faith is power. Your truth is power. Your truth is not from someone else's experience. Break away from outdated narratives about our history. Break out of the stories that are keeping you small. And I'm speaking to myself, because I've been carrying a narrative for so long. And I actually know I have to let it go for me to fully stand in the power as a teacher that I've been denying. And my friends can tell you. They're like, you should teach. And I'm like, I'm not trying to teach anything. I'm not here to teach the way that I am judging what teaching looks like. What is playing in my subconscious thoughts is this idea around a teacher who is telling you information as though it is the only truth. And however I need to redefine this, I mean, I feel like it's coming to me now. The way I desire to teach, actually the way that I do teach in my workshops with my worksheets, is for you to discern the information. I'm never wanting to tell you who you are, because that's not my place. I'm here to be an assistant to you remembering who you are, but I can't tell you anything that you don't already know. And through booking a birth chart reading, I get to be a mirror reflecting what is already in your birth chart, asking you questions as you ask me questions to understand more of how the information can be reflected and experienced for you. The greatest teachers assist you in teaching yourself. So if that is how I can, in this now moment, redefine what a teacher is, yeah, sure, that's what I do. Yeah, you are the one that holds your own map. You are the one that holds your own history, and your history is powerful. And maybe there's some dark shit about your history that needs to be cleared up. No judgment. This is a no judgment zone. But you actually have to go through the door yourself. A lot of us have had adults in our lives that don't know what the fuck they're doing either. We've been told so many things, and it really is time for us to dismantle, delete, disintegrate anything that is not rooted in our most highest divine light, essence, and benevolence for the good of self and all. People are voting on systems that quite literally are self-serving and calling it collective, or suggesting that it's for the collective. The system doesn't give a shit about you. We have to literally rewrite every chapter. Every single one of us is a chapter. We're many chapters. We're many books. But we have to rewrite, co-create the books we desire to be shared for the future collective of kids who are not playing by these rules anymore. So, for those of you who desire to work with me, I'm ready for you. But disclaimer, don't come to me seeking from a place of lack. Come to me because you feel what I'm sharing and expressing, because you're ready to understand and understand and overstand your truth. And maybe your discernment is clear and you're like, fuck yeah, I want to work with her. Fuck yeah, let's do this. Come to me because you're ready to look at your shadows. You're ready to do the work. I'm not afraid to send you back on your way. I personally am calling in people who are ready to do this work with me, to step more into my leadership, to stop pretending that I'm not who I am. My leadership is required in this lifetime, and I no longer can avoid that. So as I am building my memberships in my collective, my co-created collective, if you feel called to work with me, I look forward to working with you. The links to work with me are all in the description. Thank you so much for listening. Please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And now that I have talked for nearly an hour, I'm sure you are wondering how this information resonates with you. So here it is. If you are someone with Aries Rising, this is a time for you to expand your belief systems. What is your truth about your purpose in this world? Taurus Rising, this full moon is activating your belief systems around intimacy, your self-worth, and your sources, your resources. Gemini Rising, this is about breaking free from your limiting beliefs around who you are. Cancer Rising, this energy is asking you to release old emotional baggage that is preventing you and holding you back from true freedom. Leo Rising, it is time for you to dismantle your creative blocks and step more into your true, authentic expression. Virgo Rising, this is about you releasing yourselves from the inherited beliefs with your family. Libra Rising, this is about you reconsidering how you communicate, not only in your relationships, but also in your work. Scorpio Rising, how do your values actually align with your passions? Ophiuchus Rising, this is sitting in between Scorpio and Sagittarius in your true sidereal birth chart. How is this energy showing up for you in your identity as someone who is the truth bearer? How is that reflecting for you to own being a healer of truth and wisdom? Sagittarius Rising, similar to some of this Ophiuchus energy, but this is about you really owning your truth, period, unapologetically, speaking your truth and speaking it loud. Capricorn Rising, it's literally time for you to stop trying to control the universe. Trust in the flow, trust in source, and stop being a bully. Did I say that out loud? Aquarius Rising, stop shutting down your expansive and innovative ideas. Enough is enough. We actually need people like you in this world to see a vision that is not created yet. What are your belief systems around what can be created? If they are limited, let them go. And Pisces Rising, similar to Aquarius in a way, but this is about you connecting with your dreams and bringing them into reality to align with your highest truth, and where you may have any limiting beliefs around what that reality can be. I don't want. The invitation for you is to allow yourself to be more curious and let that shine. Let it come through. Okay. I need to eat. I've been talking for a while, and now I realize I have a lot to edit. My last message is step into your sovereignty. Remember your truth. Reclaim your truth. Speak your truth. Live your truth. Embody your truth. Experience your truth. Know your truth. Your truth cannot be taken or distorted, but be mindful of whose story you're telling. Be mindful of whose wisdom you're regurgitating. Be authentic. Move with integrity. And that's it. Thank you so much for listening. Subscribe and subscribe. Y'all will see me. Subscribe in the next video. Subscribe. Bye. Subscribe.